back again with more craziness. This time, Professor Thomas is in lesson number 8. It's the vacuum cleaner. What? Professor, we're cleaning our room today? No. We are working on vocabulary. We have a couple things in mind here when we work with new vocabulary words we're unfamiliar with. Remember, reading comprehension is all about understanding what the author is trying to do. They're going to use some crazy words we've never seen before. Some ways to handle new vocabulary words are A, the good stinky rule. Is this word a good word or a bad word? B, prefix. Look at the beginning of the word and see, does it have prefix RE? If you don't know what the word means and it's got RE in the front, well, you know, it basically means doing it again. Whatever, somebody is doing something again. Then what you do is you look at the rest of the sentence and see what could they potentially be doing again. What did I just hint around to? Cultural coding. Taking information from the environment, applying it to the passage at hand. The vacuum cleaner is another way to add to the mix of working with vocabulary words. Why is it important for us to know vocabulary words? I'll tell you why, kids. Because teachers love to ask questions on tests about vocabulary. Also, the MCA tests. That's the test at the end of the year to make sure that you know the material from that previous year to pass into the next grade. They love to test vocabulary, and when you get to ACT is going to ask you questions that revolve around vocabulary words. It's important to start learning now vocabulary and how to deal with words that we've never seen before. The vacuum cleaner is just another one of those ways to help us learn vocabulary words and answer questions correctly. Let's go ahead and start with the know it. Thinking like a kid and not making this harder than it actually is. If you want to clean your room, you would get the vacuum cleaner out. In order for you to get the vacuum cleaner out and have it actually work, you are going to have to plug in the vacuum cleaner. That's why we call this the vacuum cleaner. When I was a young boy, the vacuum cleaner was invented. I went to my granny's house, and my granny had a bird. She had the bird hanging in a cage from the ceiling. That bird made a ton of noise and loved to eat birdseed, and ate that birdseed and threw it all over the floor. Every time my mom went over to Granny's house, she pulled out the vacuum cleaner from the closet, pulled it out, and started to vacuum the birdseed on the floor. So, as a 5-year-old boy, little Tommy decided he wanted to be a good boy and help his granny and his mom clean up the birdseed underneath the cage. So what did I do? I went into the closet, I pulled out the vacuum cleaner, and I started pushing the vacuum cleaner underneath the bird cage. Lo and behold, Granny came out along with my mom and said, "Oh, cute, look at little Tommy, go." Hey, whoa. You don't have the vacuum cleaner plugged in. In order for me to pick up the birdseed, just thinking like a kid, we need to take the vacuum cleaner and plug it in. Later, lo and behold, I realized that this is actually an awesome technique to teach kids vocabulary. Remember, the vacuum cleaner says plug it in. In order for it to work, plug it in. Let's take a look at the directions. Answer the questions below and try to plug in the answer choices to see which answer choice sounds the best using the vacuum cleaner. Let's go ahead and do problem number 1 together. 1. Jimmy ran quickly down the street to the bike shop to pick up his new Trek. First things first, according to cultural coding, we don't know the word Trek. You can assume the Trek has something to do with the bike shop. What do they do at bike shops? Well, they fix bikes, but also they sell bikes. So maybe a Trek is a bike, cultural coding. Now, if you are going to go to a bike shop to pick up your new bike, how are you going to move down the street? Are you going to move quickly, as the sentence suggests? Are you going to move slowly, abruptly, contently, or eagerly? How are you going to feel? Let's go ahead, use the vacuum, plug it in, and see which one sounds the best. Jimmy ran slowly down the street to the bike shop to pick up his new Trek. No. I probably would run a little faster than slow. Jimmy ran abruptly down the street to the bike shop to pick up his new Trek. No, that sounds weird. Jimmy ran contently down the street. Sounds a little weird. And Jimmy ran eagerly down the street to the bike shop to pick up his new Trek. When you have a new bike waiting for you, you are going to be eager. The vacuum cleaner, once again, kids, says this. Take your answer choices, plug them in to the underlined portion. Remember, this answer here, if it does not say no change in one of the answers, that is the correct usage. You're tested on vocabulary. Here's what we'll do next. We're going to come over here and take a look at problems 2, 3, and 4. We're going to pause the video now. Go ahead, use the vacuum cleaner, read the sentence, get an understanding of what they're trying to do, plug each one of your answer choices in to the underlined portion, and basically use your ears and see which one sounds best. Pause the video here. We'll come on back with the answers for 2, 3, and 4. Problem 2, after riding my new bike for 3 hours, I stuttered upon a new trail that was much shorter to the lakes. First of all, this boy or girl is riding a bike for 3 hours, stuttered, which suggests maybe the kid is getting tired. So our answer choice using cultural coding and the vacuum cleaner is going to suggest somewhat of a tired kind of a feeling as we plug in our answer choices. Let's go ahead and keep that in mind. We'll plug in each one of these answer choices and see which one sounds best. After riding my new bike for 3 hours, I found upon a new trail that was much shorter. That sounds weird. Number 2, G. After riding my new bike for 3 hours, I tripped upon a new trail. Trip, it sounds a little bit weird. Do you trip upon a trail? Not really. H. After riding my bike for 3 hours, I stumbled upon a new trail, much shorter to the lakes. I like that one. Put a dot by it. We'll check the other answer choice, J, to see if anything is better. After riding my new bike for 3 hours, I discovered upon a new trail that was much shorter to the lakes. Discovered works, but it sounds a little weird in here. I like answer choice H by using the vacuum cleaner, plugging it into the underlined portion. H for 2. 3. The new trail took many twists and turns along the wooded edge of the lake. We go ahead and use the vacuum cleaner, plug it in. The new trail took many twists and twirls along the wooded. That sounds weird. Cross it out. The new trail took many twists and bends along the wooded trail. Put a dot by that. That sounds okay. Answer choice C says curls. The new trail took many twists and curls along the wooded edge of the lake. That sounds weird. We cross that one out. Answer choice D says rotations. The new trail took many twists and rotations along the wooded edge. That sounds weird. Bends is going to be the best. It sounds the best. The new trail took many twists and bends along the wooded edge of the lake. 3 is B. Number 4. Use the vacuum cleaner, plug in your answer choice, see which one sounds the best. Here is the original sentence that is used correctly. I rode up a huge hill and coasted down the other side to the picnic area. You go up a hill, and how do you feel when you go down a hill? Cultural coding. Now we use the vacuum cleaner. I rode up the hill and pedaled down the other side. Well, when you go up a hill, you're probably tired. And are you going to pedal? You just pedaled up. So that doesn't really make any sense. I feel like I want to relax on the other side of the hill. Pedaling is not relaxing, so I crossed that one out. Answer choice G says soared. I rode up the huge hill and soared down the other side to the picnic area. That sounds okay. Put a dot by it. H, glided. I rode up the hill and glided down the other side of the hill into the picnic area. That one sounds well. I like that. Put a dot by that one. And let's take a look at J. Answer choice J says, I rode up a huge hill and freewheeled down the other side. That sounds weird. I crossed that one out. Now, this will happen to you on test day. You're going to get 2 answer choices that both work, that both sound okay. Now, we're going to convert to some other things that we know. Do you remember our good old friend cultural coding? Cultural coding says, what do we know about words that we've seen before? We are going to glide or we are going to soar. Who does gliding and who does soaring? Well, think of it this way. An eagle soars, and where does an eagle soar? An eagle soars in this direction, kids. A hang glider. A hang glider is at the top of a mountain, and they jump off a mountain, and they glide. Where do they glide? They glide that way, and eventually they glide that way. Based upon cultural coding, the better answer choice is going to be H, glided. Soared makes me feel like we're going up. We are going down a hill. So using the vacuum cleaner and cultural coding together, we will derive the correct answer for problem number 4 as being H. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and pause the video here. Let's go ahead and do the last questions, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We'll come on back with the answers in a moment. Problem number 5, using the vacuum cleaner. At the picnic area, I set my bike down and got a drink of water from the drinking fountain. Remember, we're going to use cultural coding here along with the vacuum cleaner. So first things first, we are at the picnic area. Keep that in mind. We're going to plug our answer choices in and see which one sounds the best, keeping in mind cultural coding as well. At the picnic area, I set my bike down and got a drink of water from the concession stand. Well, think of it. You have seen picnic areas in parks. In parks where there's a picnic area, is there a concession stand? Not really. It sounds okay using the vacuum cleaner, but just doesn't make sense. Letter B. At the picnic area, I set my bike down and got a drink of water from the well pump. Picnic areas, do they contain well pumps? Maybe. Let's put a dot by it. At the picnic area, I set my bike down and got a drink of water from the garden hose. At picnic areas, do they have garden hoses available for people to drink from? No. Garden hose is from your backyard. Let's go ahead and cross that out. Take a look at answer choice D. At the picnic area, I set my bike down and got a drink of water from the water spout. That sounds okay too. Now we are in the same position as we saw earlier. We crossed out 2 answer choices using cultural coding and the vacuum cleaner, and now we have water spout and well pump. We are going to convert over to cultural coding, which says, based upon prior information in my lifetime, what would be more likely for me to find at a picnic area? Would I find a well pump or a water spout? Which one would be more likely? The correct answer is water spout. How do we know? Water is water, and a spout is like a little spigot. That's another fancy way of saying a drinking fountain, one of those things where you, old-fashioned one where you maybe put your foot down on it. A little water fountain. You've seen these before in a park. There's a little pedal you put your foot on. Cultural coding, kids. Problem number 5, D, the answer. Let's take a look at 6. The water tasted a bit rusty, but I was so thirsty from the ride, I barely could tell. Cultural coding, as well as the vacuum cleaner. Let's start with a vacuum. The water tasted a bit rusty, but I was so thirsty from the ride, I barely observed. That sounds weird using the vacuum cleaner. Cross it out. The water tasted a bit rusty, but I was so thirsty from the ride, I barely detected. Maybe. Put a dot by it. Let's try the other answer choices. The water tasted a bit rusty, but I was so thirsty from the ride, I barely cared. That sounds okay as well. Let's take a look at answer choice J. The water tasted a bit rusty, but I was so thirsty from the ride, I barely noticed. That one sounds the best because this person was very, very thirsty. And we have a bad taste. Do you detect, care, or barely notice? Using the vacuum cleaner, The correct answer on this one is going to be J. See what we're doing? We're almost using our ears to see which one sounds the best. Let's go ahead and move on to problem number 7. Problem number 7. After a long day of riding, I went home and had a nice meal with my family and relaxed by watching TV. Person is watching TV. Cultural coding along with the vacuum cleaner. Let's start with the vacuum. A says comfortable. After a long day of riding, I went home and had a nice meal with my family and comfortable by watching. That sounds weird. Doesn't work. Cross it out. B says unwound. After a long day of riding, I went home and had a nice meal with my family and unwound by watching TV. That sounds okay. Let's go ahead and put a dot by it. C, lounged. After a long day of riding, I went home and had a nice meal with my family and lounged by watching TV. When you watch TV, you do lounge, but for some reason, I feel like that just doesn't sound right. It sounds weird. We cross that one out. Answer choice D says buckle down. After a long day of riding, I went home and had a nice meal with my family and buckled down by watching TV. That one is the wrong tone. It looks like we're trying to find another word for relax. Remember, this kid was biking all day and they are probably tired. So buckling down means like getting serious about doing more work. That would be the opposite, so that one would be crossed out. The best answer using the vacuum cleaner and seeing which one sounds the best is going to be answer choice B, along with cultural coding. Cultural coding says taking prior information from our environment to see which one sounds better. Unwind is going to be another better way of saying relax as opposed to lounge. Lounge just means you're being lazy. Unwinding is just kind of like you're tired from the day. B for problem number 7. On to the last one. It's problem number 8. Kids, we're on a home stretch here. It's Professor Thomas working with the vacuum cleaner and inserting cultural coding. That's creepy stuff that we've learned in our environment. Stuff we've learned in school, stuff we've learned on TV, walking around in the mall, on family vacations. Let's start with the vacuum cleaner. Number 8, just before bed, I organized my backpack full of my homework that was due the next day. This kid is unwinding from a long day of biking, getting ready to go to school the next day and preparing for it. Using the vacuum cleaner, we'll plug in our answer choices. Just before bed, I packed my backpack full of homework due the next day. Of course, you're going to pack your homework in your book bag the night before. That sounds okay. Put a dot by it. G, categorize. Just before bed, I categorized my backpack full of homework that was due the next day. Maybe. Let's put a dot by it. I like F better, but maybe G works. Let's go ahead and cross out for sure what we know is wrong. The process of elimination on to H. Just before bed, I opened my backpack full of homework that was due the next day. Hopefully you don't do that, because that would suggest that you didn't even look at your homework, and now after a day of biking, you're going to start working with your homework that's due the next day. Hopefully that's not what you do, and hopefully you can cross that answer choice out right away. Answer choice J for problem 8 says, just before bed, I emptied my backpack full of homework that was due the next day. Why would you empty your backpack before you go to bed and get ready? Doesn't make any sense. Let's go ahead and cross that one out using cultural coding. Based upon what we know, it just doesn't make sense. Both of those can be crossed out because of that. Let's go back and look and see which one sounds a little bit better. Packed or categorized. Just before bed, I packed my backpack full of homework that was due the next day, and just before bed, I categorized my backpack. Would you pack your backpack, or would you go through and try and organize, categorize it? I'm going to put it into different categories. There's not very many categories inside your backpack, according to cultural coding. It's just one empty little slot where you put all your books and your notebooks. I think the best answer choice here is going to be answer choice F, because it makes sense. The night before, you're going to pack your backpack because we have homework that is due the next day. You want to make sure that that backpack is packed full of what you had done earlier in your homework. Answer choice 8, F is the correct answer. Let's do a quick summarization and conclude with the vacuum cleaner. The vacuum cleaner is a great way for helping you understand vocabulary words in regards to test-taking situations. We are going to be asked vocabulary words to substitute words in and out on tests that teachers give you, on MCA tests that are the end of the year proficiency examinations for you to pass into the next grade, and for ACT and SAT. This is a technique for answering test questions. That's it for now. It's Professor Thomas checking out. We will see you in the next lesson. Bye for now.